Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Build. I am your host, Ricky Kemmler. I am so excited to talk about this movie. On Christmas Day in 1985, more than 140 ancient objects from the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City were stolen. The culprits, you ask? Well, not professional thieves out of Heat or the Thomas Crown Affair, but two dudes. The new film, Museo, starring Gael García Bernal and directed by Alonso Ruizpalacios, tracks the somewhat dim criminals as they steal and attempt to sell the goods in a sometimes hilarious, sometimes beautiful, sometimes thrilling, and always artful film. Let's take a look.
Necesito saber si puedo confiar en ti.
¿Estás seguro?
Tira.
¡Ay! ¡Me pudiste sacar un ojo!
¿Te moviste?
Vuelves a tocar una pieza y te largas a tu casa.
Bueno, tiene que ser hoy. Hoy es Navidad. Mira, nos vemos a las 12, donde siempre.
¿Qué andas haciendo, Chaps?
¿A dónde vas con esas bolsas?
Buenas noches, feliz Navidad.
¿Qué te pasa? ¿No estás contento?
Ahí va, ahí va. A partir de aquí no hay marcha atrás.
Objetos tan importantes y valiosos como los antes mencionados han sido sustraídos por manos criminales. El Instituto Nacional de Antropología e Historia alerta contra estos vándalos enemigos de su historia y de su herencia.
Los que hicieron esto son gente miserable, sin pasado, sin futuro. Como habíamos quedado, se les vamos a mostrar, él nos va a llevar ahí con su cliente.
¿Cómo van a convencerlo de mover una merca tan caliente? Te están buscando por todas partes.
Chiva, necesito que me ayudes.
Mi papá te va a matar.
¿Crees que deberíamos regresarlas?
No, ¿a qué hicimos todo esto?
Everybody, please welcome Gael García Bernal and Alonso Ruizpalacios.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Delighted to be here, thank you.
I couldn't love this movie more. It is such wonderful filmmaking from beginning to end. Every shot counts, every edit counts. The performances are wonderful. You know, oftentimes when you are an actor, you go into a project and you don't know what it's going to look like when you come out the other end, when you go to the first screening. But I think as an actor, maybe you can see a little bit how they're shooting it and be like, oh, this is pretty normal. We're doing shot, reverse shot, coverage. I can kind of see how this is going to come out. But what was this like for you? Because so much of this film feels discovered while shooting, while editing, that it must have been somewhat of a surprise for you as an actor when you saw the screening to see something so beautifully rendered.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is always like that in a sense. Like, I don't like knowing exactly what's being shot or what's on frame, even though, I mean, with many years of not being able to get out of this, like you can already tell with what lens they're using, or you know where more or less it's happening. You can tell more or less what's gonna happen in a way, but at the same time, I mean the whole collage, the whole montage of it, you never know, no? And there's a new thing coming up every time, no? And the first time you see it, it is really, I don't know, it's like a screening of curiosity, no? Where you're just like, okay, like, no, seeing how everything came together and how they put those things, the puzzle was built. But in this one, definitely, there were endless possibilities. And at the same time, I felt we were all part of the process of building this puzzle, because Alonso is very inviting into this, you know, this kind of the making of it, no, the putting it on stage in a way, you know, trying out things, seeing if it works, changing it, getting another shot of this and another shot of that, and maybe capturing something that we were doing whilst we weren't shooting, no, like sometimes I don't know, some dynamic that occurred with me and the other actor, Leonardo Ortizgris, like it was not on screen, but it was part of the movie, but so the camera kind of turned to that direction. I don't know, there were certain things that were happening all the time, but at the same time, Alonso had a very clear kind of, you know, with the, I mean, I'll let him talk about it, of course, but it's like there was I don't know, like a search that we were all part of his search, you know.
Alonso, how much do you stick to the script when you start shooting, or are you a person? I mean, as much as it's a cliche to say, a film is three different movies: the script, the shooting, and the editing. You can see when a film, or at least I feel like I can feel it when a filmmaker is really trying to find the different things that his movie can be. When he's writing it, when they're shooting it, when they're directing it. You just get more of a search feeling. And I got that with this. How much do you rely on the script, and how much do you sort of go off and look for a lot of different things while you're in each process?
I think for me it's kind of half and half. Like I always remember this thing that one of my directing teachers taught me. A Polish director named Ludwik Margules. He's a theater director in Mexico City. Or he was, and he was amazing. And he always said, prepare everything. Do your script and prepare every single movement, every single word. And then when you're there, forget about your notebook. Like, leave it. And I think it's a really good advice because you've prepared the whole movie. You've seen the whole of it in your head. I do make a shot list for the whole film. And then I try not to use it when I'm there. I only use it when I panic, like when I really can't find the answer. Then I go, okay, what was it? Okay, that. But I really try not to use it and to rediscover the film on the set with the actors. I think it's very important to do that. The one scene that I think it's the only time I've storyboarded some. I don't use storyboards, but the only time I used a storyboard that turned out exactly the way I made it was the heist, the museum heist. Like we had, because we had a lot of constraints about shooting in the anthropology museum, and then we built the halls inside a studio set. So I wanted it to be very precise. So I drew every little thing in that, and that's the only thing that I look at now and I said, that's exactly how I drew it,
But then, to me, what struck me about the museum scene was the way that you cut it and the way that you have the flashes of the objects and that, which is, again, I was telling you this in the green room, it's just the moment where you see a director has a different idea of how to do this. They walk into it and go, well, how can I make this look my own, and how can I make this look different than the way a heist scene has looked before? Was that an idea that you had in the script as well for how you're going to do it, or something, again, that you sort of discover in editing?
We discovered, not in editing, but in the shooting. Well, before the shooting, like we knew that we wanted to, like, once the first piece they steal had to be very precise, and we had to see like all the little details. I wanted to portray the working aspect of theft. Like thieves as working men, like the effort that it takes to steal something that precise, and I wanted to see them sweating, and like I knew it had to be a long sequence, full of detail, but once that first piece was out of the case and they put it in their bag, then the rest had to be elliptical. So we came up with this idea that Damian, my DP, and me, we work together a lot in prep. Of like, we said, well, let's do it like a forensics presentation, like how they would have seen them if they were there, like, or how the forensics explained to themselves, well, this is how they would have been. So we came up with this idea of stills for the rest of the robbery.
I love it. It's the kind of thing that it takes a great director to pull off, and anybody else, people would watch it and go, this doesn't work. What are they doing here? But there's just talent that adds the nuance that makes it fluid and interesting.
It adds to a bigger question, which is one of the essential aspects of this story and why it has fascinated people in Mexico for many, many years, or people all over the world that are interested in art thefts. And it's the fact that nobody knows really why they did what they did. Nobody understands why it was two kids from a suburb in Mexico City stealing the Museum of Anthropology a few months after the biggest earthquake had struck and had shattered Mexico City, and everyone was in a state of shock. Like the big open question, which still remains today, is like, why did they do it? You know, and maybe it's also a driving force of why we wanted to do this film. You know,
did you find that you needed a motive for your performance, or did you sort of keep it blank for yourself?
I need a question, really. I mean, that's even though it sounds like if I knew exactly what I'm doing, but you know, there is a.
Why do you think your character did it?
Well, I need a question to. I mean, I need a question of who does this person wants to be. Why does he want to do it at that moment? Not necessarily on the whole, you know. Why do I think? I'm not gonna say, because I'm not. I don't want to impose any reason, you know. Like, because I think it's a mix of many things. I don't think it's as simple as one little thing, you know. I think it goes. It's a big scope of the reasons why it happened, because it's not also why they did it. Is why it happened, because impunity and the lack of justice in that sense is a one big aspect of why this happened, because they could just get away with it, you know. On the other end of the scope, I think it's also something that these characters and these real life characters were very, you know, destined to be quite, I don't know, wrongly contestitarian with or explosive perhaps, or self-boycotting in a kind of strange way, with big challenges, no? So I don't know. I mean, it is a huge mix of reasons. But what's interesting is that they all can be played. You know, they're all at play in the film. You know, there could also be that argument of it was a mistake. It was a small adventure that went bad, that went really wrong. Like, they didn't plan ahead. They are not professional robbers, you know. They are just, I don't know, they just...
It's the classic story of middle-class ennui turned to danger for crafting a life's purpose of some kind, leaving your mark, which you don't feel like you can leave.
Yeah.
What attracts you to filmmakers? Obviously, this is a very well-known story in Mexico, right? So you want to get it right. You want to make sure that the script and the director are going to be people who really do it justice. What attracted you to Alonso?
Well, Alonso was the one that attracted me to the story, definitely. And I say that it was that way because Alonso, I know him from before, and I admire his work on as a director, as a theater director, but also as a film director. You know, in Güeros, I mean, it's a beautiful movie. And when he told me about the possibility of a film, because it's always nice to look at it that way, no? I mean, it's not a film that is happening. It's still a possibility. So it is very, you know, it is a dream in a way. So it's basically, even though it might sound corny, but yeah, it's somebody invites you into a dream, into something that can happen, no? And makes you fall in love with the story, with the project as a whole. With him being the person that kind of takes you through what is being done, and more or less the work that's being put at place so that certain things can be achieved, and later you're deep inside and you don't know like what was the main thing that brought you into it, you know. So looking at it from the outside, I would say, yeah, just the fact that he's a great director was what excited me to do this, because whatever take he was gonna do he was gonna go forth with this story was gonna be very interesting and very personal and very I don't know, very original, and it was gonna add more layers to just the simple myth or the, you know, the collective memory that we have about this robbery.
What drew you to this story? What made you want to tell this story? What made you think that you could do it?
Well, I didn't. I didn't have in mind to do the story. After I did my first film, Güeros, I was working on something else. Well, actually, when we were editing, my editor told me, I have this friend, Manuel Alcalá, who has this script about the heist that happened, and I had just this vague memory because we were both very young when the heist happened. So Manuel saw Güeros and he said, I want you to direct it, and I couldn't say no. I think it's part of our collective memory. These traumatic stories that have happened, and just finding out what happened and looking into it, it was clear that there was an incredible story there. It's literally hard to believe everything that happened and how they got involved with this B-movie actress, dancer, stripper, and the fact that they kept them in their bags they kept most of the pieces inside their closet for a long time. These two kids from, like, nobody believed when the heist happened. The following day, it was reported as a band of international art expert thieves is connected to this robbery and that. And then when they caught them, nobody believed it was two jackasses from the suburbs of Mexico City. It was like a prank that went wrong. So it was just a great story.
In prepping for the film, doing any research, did you reach out to people that were around them or involved?
Yeah, we Manuel started this. He's the son of a reporter, so he has this investigative vein in him, and he did a lot of research first from newspapers, from the time, and then videos. He got some videos. Some of the videos that we put in the film, actually, when the reporter breaks the news nationally, that's a real clip from that time. Then he talked to a lot of the friends of these guys. So yeah, we looked into that. The families of the thieves, they're both disappeared. One of them went to jail and then he died, and the other one was never caught. So there's no way to get in touch with him, except by a Ouija or something. Maybe. And the other
seances.
Yeah, and their families didn't want to have anything to do with the movies because it was a big blow for them. When this happened, it was tragic and yeah. So and then we started getting all this like different versions, contradictory versions from the friends of the thieves. Like, still people come up to us and say, "Oh, I'm a friend of." I went to a funeral like last week, and I bumped into a guy said, "Oh, I heard you're doing this film." I was really close friends with Charlie, one of the guys, and he started telling me all these new stories that had nothing to do with the stories that other people had told us. So we just kind of embraced that in the process, like all these contradictions, and we said we have to make up our own story.
Well, it's almost liberating in a way because they've become such myth that you don't have you can, like you said, create your own story to a degree because somebody essentially is going to come along and be like, no, I was the close friend and I know the real story.
Yeah.
You didn't know these people at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gael, what do you look for in a filmmaker when you set out to make a movie? Because your list of movies that you've made, you're always working with great people. There's great films, great directors, all the way down the list.
Well, I mean, there is no it would be interesting to have like a questionnaire, no? Like that I would like here, Alonso, like fill it in, like let's see how you answer. Multiple answers.
A question of taste, right? You have.
Yeah. I asked them if they like the Beatles, and if they don't like them, then the conversation's gone. No, that would be a.
You have to be such a pretentious ass.
You don't like the Beatles?
I love the Beatles, but I mean, to say that you don't like the Beatles, it's like a rebellious 13-year-old. It's like, okay, you'll come around. Okay. They're great. Yeah.
You see that you know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah. So yes, I don't. There is no format in a way, but at the same time, I think I have to become really good friends on many levels, on a creative kind of rapport and at the same time, I don't know, like an interest to fall into, because doing a film, it takes a lot of you physically and emotionally and spiritually and now we are
time away
older
from your
and
kids and all
kids,
that.
exactly. So it's like, it has to be something that's really worthwhile, no? And so everything has to come or connect in a way. And really, as an actor, I let myself be in the hands of a director in the sense that I do it because he or she is taking me through that route, no? And then I fall in love with everything else. But it's through that pathway that I kind of engage. And maybe it's because me as a spectator, I like films that are done by directors, that are done by a personal point of view. So I mean, after that is kind of comes together, then everything else, everything else is an added bonus. I mean, like here we had the chance to shoot we're gonna be in Palenque, we're gonna be in shooting in the Museum of Anthropology, and we're gonna be doing the 80s, which is always fun, to kind of have fun about the 80s. Everyone makes fun of the 80s, maybe because, I don't know. Yeah, because it's very easy to make fun of the 80s.
It's very easy to make fun of right now, too, by
right
the
now,
way.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah, right now is so good.
Maybe it's hard because it's so sad right now, but yeah, no.
Yeah.
But it is a time in our lives that, in a sense, I don't know, all these opportunities came along, and I don't know, I thought it was a very ambitious also. I mean, it was a very ambitious project in Mexico, so it's always nice to be in something that wants to be, a movie, that deals with something bigger, and also a story that it's us that can tell that story, So I think that's more or less what guides me. And also, ultimately, I would say, it's just to do a good film. Not really about the character. Really, it's very little about the character when I want to be in a... I mean, when somebody invites me into a film, it's very little to do with the character. It's mainly about the film. I really...
At the end of the day, being able to say that you made a good film.
That it's a good film, yeah, exactly, yeah. Because there is many actors that
really
choose
hard to do
through characters, through because it's a good character and everything, and it's fair because we all have different ways of engaging into this. But I would like to be in good movies. Yeah, I mean, might as well, no?
Well, it's much harder than it is easy to be in good movies. Even when you sign up with a good director or it's a good character, at the end of the day, you sometimes just don't know how it's gonna come out. This is one of those instances where you have a great director, a great story, and the movie came out perfectly.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And at the same time, also, like, if it wouldn't have had, come out great, the experience did it for the good reasons, and did it and that's something that's also nice about doing a film. I mean, it's because we always talk about it. I mean, while shooting, like, how on earth do we keep on doing this? Like, why? Like, sometimes we're very tired, and sometimes some certain processes of making a film are really demanding. Also, like. Emotionally, like you get really tired, of certain things that, hoping that the film is going to be good. It's going to be good. Well, it has to be worthwhile, even if the film didn't. There's no alchemy, because at the end, I mean, they're made to transcend, and hopefully one day somebody will watch them.
I remember being 13 and saying that I didn't like the Beatles, by the way. And then I remember the moment when I was 17 and I listened to the White Album and I went, what an idiot. Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has one?
All right. Hi. Thank you so much, Gael and Alonso, for being here in New York and sharing this film with us. I look very much to seeing it. And also, I've always admired Gael's work in the past, and I'm very excited for this. So my question is related as to Latin American director and actor. How do you aspire or wish that this movie can transcend the walls, barriers that we have, been constructing about, our culture, but also how can we showcase like our values and ourselves through this movie across borders?
How does this movie transcend borders?
Oh my God.
I would say there's a world cinema influence to it, I felt. I mean, just as a director. Sorry, I don't mean to answer your question. French trying to pull that a little bit.
Thank you for that. No, I mean, I guess the film is about, okay, so the film is about history, and it's about our relationship to history, and a country's relationship to its history, and how that constructs our identity as individuals and as a nation. So I think there's bringing that little bit of history into Mexico, and the film touches on, you know, pre-Hispanic, Mesoamerican history, and also into our 20th century history, you know, and it's a film that reflects about on storytelling and the relationship between history and fiction, and how history is composed of little fictions and points of view. There's not one truth in history, you know. It's how we tell it. So I think bringing that showing that to the world, it's something that we are really proud of. Gael and I, you know, we talked about it all throughout the making of the film, how lucky we were just to be shooting in those places, you know, in the National Anthropology Museum in Mexico City. I think is one of the finest museums in the world. You know, it holds the largest collection of Mesoamerican art, and you know, it asks nothing of the Met or the Louvre or the British Museum or whatever. You know, it's a amazingly designed and curated museum. And I'm really happy for people from all over the world to see it. But more importantly, I think it's a good story, and it's you know, we crafted very carefully with a lot of love, and it's really well acted. So I don't know. I'm proud of it.
Yeah, and I think one thing, I mean, amongst the many, I mean, the things that can come across with the movie and about the cultural, you know, just scope that we can talk about, and I think one of the main things to that I'm very proud of, but also that I think we have the possibility to do, is to show very free cinema, you know, cinema that is done maybe with limited resources, but we can do whatever we want, really. Yeah. I mean, and that is something that not many places can say that, and I think that is the ultimate. That is an interesting place that cinema actually has in Latin American spectrum, is the fact that we're going to see a very free interpretation of something. You know, we're going to see a very personal point of view. We're going to see something that is going to add to some conversation on a certain level, and that is something that we have to. You know, defend, manifest, and at the same time promote, so that not only us can do it, but many more people can do it. So I think that's one of the nice things about a film like this, you know.
Yeah. Next question, right here.
Hi, my name is Gabriela. My question is, you both spoke a lot about how you want to make worthwhile movies, and so regarding Museo, how is, in regards to the story, what is it about this time now that this story is finally being told in this manner, and how is it a reflection of Mexico and the world at large?
Well, it's like I said, it's a story about the construction of identity, and I think Mexico is constantly, you know, is a country that, in a way, it's coming of age all the time, you know, and it's constantly needs reminding of to look at itself, to look at its past, at its long past and its recent past, and to define its way. So in that sense, I think that's where it's important. Also, I've said this before in interviews, asking me, why do you want to keep filming in Mexico? Well, I think for me, like south of the border, there's like so many stories that are yet to be told. You know, you lift a rock and like 1,000 stories, amazing, come at you. I think maybe north of the border, they're scraping at the bottom of the barrel, making sequels and prequels and trequels, and we just in Mexico there's just like a wealth of stories yet to be told, and I think this is definitely one of them. And stories that yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in the past for its sake. I'm interested in looking at the past in the sense that it tells us something about our current situation. And this film definitely has a lot of those conversations, you know, about how to look after our heritage, how we define ourselves, etc. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more.
Hi. Hola, hola. It seems like it was a pretty intricate and creative process. It says a lot about your engagement with the movie, and I wanted to know if, for both of you, if the object itself, this stolen object, meant something or said to you, even metaphysically speaking, in connection to the past, and bringing it in the present, to the present as artists, as contemporary artists. Really, were you connected to that object, and what was it really? Was it a mask, this object? What was it?
You know, always wondering why these characters did what they did. You know, these real life characters did what they did. One thing that came up to my mind is the fact that, well, I would never do something like that. Not let alone why it shouldn't be done, and why ethically it's really wrong to do it, and why I don't have the need to collect. I feel bad about selling. You know, like I don't know. But also because I would be very scared of touching these subjects. I have a strong connection with I think we're all kind of engraved this connection with our history and with these objects, and with the respect that we have to give to these objects, these totemic objects that are incredibly beautiful and also show show a cosmovision that doesn't exist anymore, or maybe that was mixed with another cosmovision and turned out into who we are, and that's something that has fascinated me. So I just really, even the replicas that were made for the film, you know, to be able to shoot, and of course we couldn't. I mean, we weren't gonna even. I mean, there was no possibility that we were gonna shoot with the real pieces. There was something that it's just the amount of faith, or the amount of, I don't know, the amount of like just the history that you put into these objects, that all of a sudden they become, I won't call them sacred, but I just would call them special, like, and it was a constant feeling. We had them in our backpacks while shooting in the movie. We were traveling around with them. We would take them out every now and then. We would improvise stuff with them. We would play around with them. And definitely that moment where Juan puts himself a mask of Pacal, at a certain moment when they're in Palenque, and they're like, connecting to the, they brought back the mask of Palenque to Palenque, like, and they have it in the backpack, and he puts the mask of the one of the greatest kings of America, and he puts the mask on, and there is something there that I don't know. It was the moment where we shot it, the way it was shot, lying on the floor, being almost like half naked, sorry, come on.
It's okay, you can leave it.
You see, it's because I mentioned the name of Pacal. Like exactly like, sorry, not now, not now. Exactly.
The Ouija board is working.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. You see, and it's green, and so I don't know. There is something there. I really connect to that, and it's very difficult for me to like. To I don't know, he's a bit of a he would like sometimes provoke us, like saying, "Hey, look what I do with the, with the pieces. Look what I'm gonna." And like, no, Alonso, don't. And it's these replicas, like, but we charge them with such, I don't know, importance.
Yeah, that scene that he talks about, where there's a scene in the film where they're in camping in Palenque next to the pyramids, where they found this mask that was found inside the tomb of King Pakal. And Juan Gael's character puts it on and he lays back, and they're by a fire. And when we shot it, we both, like the DP and I, were looking at each other and like, there's something weird going on here. There was some, I don't know, something else, somebody came to visit that day, and it was really beautiful.
And I think that's also the turning point where I mean, more or less what you're saying about our relationship with them is that in a way we're brought up to be protectors of these pieces, protectors of our history. We're brought up like that. And the characters, in a sense, they stole them, but they became even more Garcia Marquez, when they recovered the pieces, and they did a whole spectacle, like, gathering people to say, like, we recovered all the pieces, and the president was there at the time, and they showed all the pieces that were recovered and everything. And Garcia Marquez said, well, I mean, the only explanation of why all the pieces were found is because maybe these people were completely lovers of these pieces, of this art. They love it. That's why they kept it intact. That's why they didn't damage them. That's why, because that was something that also authorities were saying. I mean, if they were thieves, they would have not cared about this. There's something else, And there is an interesting premise, as well, that Alonso puts forth in the film. That is, they became protectors of the pieces, and that's an interesting reflection on what history and what who are the people that are the keepers of art pieces or objects of history, like,
and that define our memory in the end.
Exactly.
That defines our memory.
Yeah, like who are the self-assignated people that do these jobs, and all the process, also dichotomy between what is looting, what is collecting, what is preservation, what is saving so that everybody can see it. It is there's many aspects in that, and there's many good arguments on both sides of the spectrum. I mean, it's interesting, but that's why this event, this heist in 1985, has fascinated art historians and art historians that deal with robberies, because they don't know why they did it, why these guys did what they did, and how it's different from any other art robbery, or historic robbery. They kept it, and maybe that's also what's unexplainable about why they did it. Many things in Mexico are very unexplainable, like an earthquake happens the same day, almost at the same hour, many years after. Why? I don't know. Nobody, I mean, only in Mexico. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Guys, congratulations. The film is beautiful, incredible work all the way around. When can people see Museo?
Yeah, so it's opening tonight at the Angelica Film Center, so come and see it tonight.
Go see it in a theater, too. See it in a theater. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, we shot it on 35 millimeters, so it's worth seeing in a cinema. We're screening in 35 just for this week at the Angelica. So, and Gael and I will be on a Q&A, post-screening Q&A today, tomorrow, and Saturday. So come and see it.
Everybody give them a big round of applause. Let's hear it.
Thank you.